Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And this week, it is my turn to pick the topic. And as always, Joy doesn't know what I'm going to talk about. And this week's topic is, it's a family affair.
It's a family affair?
Yeah. So what I've done is I've compiled some songs which have either family in the title, daughter in the title, father in the title, son, mother, etc., etc., etc.
I thought the whole podcast was just going to be about we are family. That's what I thought he was going with that. I'm like, a family affair? What's happening?
Though, before we get into the music, I do have a question for you.
Okay.
On the topic of it's a family affair, when did it become a thing to have things painted on your wall in your house that say family? When did that start?
The same time Karen started putting live, laugh, love on everything. About that time. About that time. Sorry if any of you guys have that on your wall.
Because you can't go into, because like in the States we have a shop called Michael's, which is like a craft design arty type shop that you can buy painting supplies and things, and they sell knickknacks as well. And it's impossible now to buy anything in there that doesn't have live, life, love, family, yada 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 printed on it.
And it's always in this, like, what they think is a really cool Curtis script with a T. And it's the same one. And it's just like you put it up on your wall and it's like either like an iron or it's like a vinyl. And it's like, we in this family live, laugh, love or something, or family something. I don't know. It's always some quote that looks like basically that. That's all I can say. And he's right. You go to Michael's, Hobby Lobby, any of our kind of those stores, you can't. It's everywhere. It's literally everywhere.
When we bought this house, in our bathroom, there was a thing that said like clean or shower or some thing like that, and I tell you, the second day after we lived here, I threw that thing in the dustbin.
Well, I was cleaning out at work a filing cabinet, and I had something in there that I think a coworker, I'm not going to name names, had given me, and I was like, "Oh, this is great!" It went right in the filing cabinet. It said, "Thankful, grateful." I don't know, something like that. Thankful, grateful being or something. And it was like the 3 words. And I was like, thanks. She's like, I'm not using this. Do you want to use it? And I was like, it was around Thanksgiving. So I think she was trying to help me decorate. I just stuck it in the filing cabinet. It never went up.
Well, it's a thought that counts. You took it from someone and they thought, they did a good thing for you.
I smiled and nodded. It was appreciative. And now it's a goodwill.
There we are. Well, someone else is enjoying it in their home and live, laugh, live, love.
If you're into it, it's cool. It's just not for me.
There you go. Okay, so I'm going to start with some, as I said, some songs that I've compiled which have these names in the title. So I'm opening it with Creedence Clearwater Revival and Fortunate Son.
So all I think of when I hear Fortunate Son was there is actually a running gag in Family Guy. And it's like, how many times can you hear Fortunate Son in a Vietnam movie? So when I think of that song, that's what always comes to mind is it's been used in like every war movie since the beginning of time. And I love CCR. It's just always that song because, it's talking about having a silver spoon in your mouth type situation. So that's what I think of when I think of that song.
And I think maybe Fortunate Son is one of those overplayed FM rock radio classics.
Which is kind of sad because CCR has a very, very, very large catalog.
Oh, absolutely.
But the other one, Tim, is Bad Moon Rising has to, or Bad Moon Rising has to be in every Vietnam movie too. That one's in there too.
Yeah, maybe they... When it comes to music for Vietnam films, that they are the go-to. I don't know.
Maybe they've copyrighted Vietnam films, only CCR. Oh, and then, yeah, that was those two. That pretty much covers it. They'll be like on a plane, and it's the first time everybody's getting ready to jump. And then there's like, I was never a fortunate son. And then they all jump off the plane.
Yeah, I think you are completely correct. Okay, well, the next one I have, and similarly on the subject of son,
Okay.
It's Daft Punk's Son of Flynn. Now, is that a track that you're familiar with?
I've heard it, but I wouldn't say I'm very familiar with it. I do like Daft Punk, though. So, I mean, anything they do is pretty cool for me.
Yeah, because it's from the Tron Legacy soundtrack album.
Mm-hmm. And I actually like Tron. So, I mean, I've heard it, but I mean, I don't really have any particular thoughts on it. I do know Daft Punk went all around the world once.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know about them. They don't show their faces. I got nothing on this song.
Well, do you know what? I have the Tron Legacy soundtrack. I have the CD. I paid full price for it because I liked it so much. I didn't even get it from a thrift shop. However, I've never seen the film.
I knew that's where it was going because I was like, Tim's never seen that movie, has he? I knew that. But it is a good soundtrack.
Yeah, and I know that they have. It's all computer graphics, but to some degree. But I know they have a cameo appearance in it. But I don't know if I can be bothered to sit through 2 hours of that.
I mean, it's good, but knowing what I know about you, Tim, I don't know that I would tell you to do it. Maybe if you were really bored and you were out of Knight Rider episodes Saturday evening.
Let me tell you, there is 90 Knight Rider episodes, and they are to be enjoyed every week in rotation. And I've just finished the last episode of season 4, Center for Rose, very sad. Michael marries Stevie, and then she gets killed by an assassin, and then he thinks he's going to leave the Foundation, and he doesn't know what he's going to do, and then he hops back in Kit at the end of the episode, and he says, Kit, I'm going home. And he says, what do you mean, Michael? He says, I'm going home.
And that's when Daft Punk came in from Flying from the Sky as their cameo. See, it all comes full circle, guys. That's how this relates. Daft Punk was actually in that episode. Now you have to go watch it to confirm or deny that theory.
Well, I think Daft Punk would have been time travelers because I think they're younger than I am, and that was 1986.
Yes, probably. But I mean, a lot of their hits are from the early 90s, right? A lot of their big ones.
Yeah, I don't know, early 2000s, late 90s, something like that.
Well, I thought like Around the World and a few of their other songs came out in the early 90s. Let's see.
Maybe they were around longer than I thought they were.
I could be completely wrong. 195
Oh, okay.
was when it was recorded, so I wasn't too far off.
I do know where their name came from for all the bingo card listeners out there.
Oh no.
Well, the two guys in Daft Punk, they had a number of musical projects before they became Daft Punk, and one of them was like a kind of punk rock band back in the day before they they went down the electronic music thing, and they got a review in, I think it was NME or Record Mirror or one of the UK publications, and their concert was described as a daft punky thrash.
Huh. I mean, that makes sense. So we'll add this. When you said for your bingo card, I thought you were going to say they're from where is that location? And I'm like, aren't they French? Anyway, so it looks like there's a theory, just for everybody to know. Mm-hmm. You can put this in, that Daft Punk has already been dead for 22 years.
What?
It says, according to one legend, Daft Punk has already been dead for 22 years. Thomas, I don't even want to try to say his last name, and Guy Manuel were collateral damage in a sampler explosion on September 9th, 1999, and the duo reported at that time. And that's a theory that they died in whatever collateral damage in a sampler explosion. I don't know what that means. What's a sampler? All I think of is like an appetizer. Applebee's.
They weren't in Red Robin. A sampler is a piece of equipment that you would use to sample audio.
Darn it, Stevie Nicks. Okay. Anyway, if that makes no sense to you, go listen to the last episode.
Well, if that's the case, maybe the theory is maybe they actually are robots.
Well, that would explain why they never show their faces. I just really like that song they did with Pharrell Williams and Nile Rodgers when they did it live. Mm-hmm. The Get Lucky song. That's actually pretty cool. And it really did sound like an original, like, chic Nile Rodgers kind of song.
Is that the one from the Grammys that you mean?
Mm-hmm. Like Stevie Wonder?
Yeah. There's two versions of that. If you go on YouTube, there's the version that was broadcast on the Grammys, and there's the soundcheck performance. And the soundcheck performance is actually a better performance. Mm-hmm. And the best thing about the soundcheck performance is that all the seats are laid out, and they've all got like pictures put on them, so they know who's going to sit where when the thing goes live. But guess who's just standing there, just checking out Stevie Wonder and Noel Rodgers? It's Paul McCartney.
What?
Yeah, it's a bunch of crew just milling about and like lighting guys getting stuff right and people putting tables out and things like that. And then there's a few people, musician types around. But then there's just Paul McCartney. He's just watching it, just going, yeah, this is cool, man. It's Stevie Wonder. How could I not want to watch this?
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame him. I would have been watching too. It's a cool performance. And I suggest you watch both because Tim's right. The sound check's better than the actual performance.
Yeah, because in the actual performance, Stevie Wonder messes one of the lyrics up. And then Pharrell corrects him, but he does it in such a professional way that you would never know what's going on.
You can't say that out loud, Tim. Stevie Wonder will find you. All right, what's next? That took a turn.
Okay, so the next one I have here, this is one for you, Joy. I picked this one out especially.
Okay.
Spice Girls, Mama.
Oh, that's a great one. And I always think of Spice World, the movie, when they're pretending to be like grown-ups and they have their own kids now. And that's the song that comes on. And like Posh is sent all of her kids to boarding school. Ginger's pregnant with like her third kid. And then like Scary's like, they never do the things you want to do or something. And then the song comes on in the background. But it's actually a beautiful song. It's just what I think of when I think of Mama. Have you watched Spice World?
I've seen it once. It was on like UK TV at Christmas one year, and I watched it. I've only ever seen it the once, though. I haven't seen it. I know you've probably seen it as many times as I've seen Moonraker.
I own the VHS.
Oh, you have the VHS?
Oh, yeah. That was a requirement. Well, I had it when I was younger, and then I did kind of like what Tim did with his collection of CDs and got rid of it. And then I found it at Goodwill one day, and I was like, oh, when my husband bought a VHS player, started randomly deciding he wanted to collect VHSs again. I told you about that. I found it because it was important. Must have it.
No, I absolutely. I mean, one thing I will say about VHS, if you have a VHS player and you like films and you're not too fussed about the quality, you can go into any thrift shop, Goodwill, secondhand shop, and get them literally for nothing. CDs are almost nothing, but VHSs are they cannot get rid of them. If you went into a thrift shop and said, I would take everything you have and here's $25, they would probably say, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. That I always see every year with Mama. I see a bunch of people on Facebook every year on Mother's Day dedicating it to their mom of girls close to my age. That's about it. But it's a good choice.
But it's not, in my opinion, not the greatest Spice Girls song. But
it is pretty. And I mean, they do, when they perform it live, it sounds really nice. And a lot of times they'll bring their moms on stage with them when they perform it. I know you've ever seen them live doing that, but they'll bring their moms on stage with them. Or they'll show pictures of their parents in the background. It's like a little dedication to their mothers. So,
are they set to tour again?
Well, they toured, 2018, 2019? But I haven't heard anything. They wouldn't come to America because of violence, and I can't even know that I blame them in some ways. After like what happened with the Ariana Grande concert and all kinds of things, and then then like that shooting in Vegas, they just said that they didn't feel comfortable coming here, which broke my heart because I would have sold my kidney to go. I have watched like every YouTube video of other concerts on repeat. It was really good, and there was a lot of money that went into that concert tour. The stage and everything was just crazy. But I haven't heard anything more. I do know they're redoing Spice World, though. I have heard that. And Posh has signed up to be part of it. So it's going to be all of them. So yay! I have that to look forward to. So
are they doing a remake of Spice World?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're set to remake Spice World. I don't know if it's going to be like a continuum or they're remaking the original, but there's just been like one or two news articles come up that said they've all signed on for a new Spice World.
Interesting. I hope it's not like Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey 3.
Don't do that to me, Tim. Just don't. I will. I'll cry. I only have so many things to look forward to in this post-COVID world, and this is one of them. I've lost a lot of things, a lot of concerts. Don't do that.
Well, I'm hoping that if that's the case, they'll remake Spice World, and it will be even better than the original.
Yes. I don't know that I believe that's possible, but I hope it is. And I wonder if Meatloaf will re-inhabit this one. Remember, he was the bus driver? Mm-hmm. Which was incredibly random, and I don't know why, but he's literally there just to make one line that said, I would do anything for these girls, but I won't do that. That was literally it.
That is the exact reason why he was put in to do that.
That's it. They wrote one line for him, and that's what he said.
Which is why Mike Myers is in Bohemian Rhapsody in that scene where he said, no kids would be in their car banging their heads to this. This is rubbish.
Exactly. Same thing.
Exactly.
Oh,
All right.
Lord.
Well, we will leave the Spice Girls topic on that high. We won't extrapolate any more about the Spice Girls. We'll just say that the new film's going to be great, and that's where we leave it.
They can't see me, but I smiled at Tim, hoping that that's true.
Okay. So, again, on the Mama topic, ABBA's Mamma Mia.
Obviously, probably maybe besides Take a Chance on Me, their most popular song.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could agree on. I love Mamma Mia, the musical, speaking of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I love ABBA, and I love Mamma Mia. What I like about ABBA is they can have a song that's like Mamma Mia or just something that almost sounds nonsensy in a way, like Waterloo or something like that. And it will be stuck in your head for the next 7 years. If you're not singing Mamma Mia in your head right now, I don't know how you live, because as soon as I hear it, that's what comes to mind.
Mamma Mia.
And then I love the musical, and then the second musical had Cher in it, which was pretty cool too. I don't know. I doubt Tim has watched either Mamma Mia. Probably not. Oh, I got him on. He's got me on this one.
I have seen the Mamma Mia film, and in addition, I saw it in London's West End.
What? I actually saw it in theater with my best friend, and it was cool because we're both in the musicals, and nobody else was in the theater but us. And if you've ever been to a movie where you're the only one in the theater, it's kind of cool because then you could actually talk to each other and not have to worry about bugging anyone around you. So we were like singing along horribly without everybody having to hear us. So we were super excited. And then when I went to Greece a few years back, I was like, oh yeah, they were in Greece at Mamma Mia. So I put it on while I was packing my stuff. Not that I thought I was going to end up in some random villa with Meryl Streep, but you never know.
But no, I will say that the London West End stage performance of it was absolutely fantastic. And I didn't really have much knowledge of it until I went to see it. And we saw it on New Year's Eve, of all times, to see it.
That's kind of random.
Yeah, it was it was a matinee performance on New Year's Eve. And it was really good. I really liked it. But the thing is, as you know, I have a deep love of ABBA, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I have ABBA is one of those bands that I absolutely adore in every situation. I don't even know that I've ever heard a song they don't like. But in Mamma Mia, one of my favorite scenes is the Does Your Mother Know? Mm-hmm. Speaking of families, there's another one. Mother, Does Your Mother Know? When she sings it to the boys there, I absolutely love that version. And I also love I haven't seen it live, but when Meryl Streep in the movie did Money, 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 I like that version too. Mm-hmm.
The Does Your Mother Know? My favorite version of that song is off the original ABBA live album. And the two guitar players are trading off. And me and my friend Jules, who we lost a year or two ago, we used to talk about the fact that it's really weird. One of the guitar players in that band plays some licks similar to me, and the other guitar player plays licks similar to what he used to play. And we said that is the proof that time travel is possible, because we obviously we're going to go back in time at some point and play all those licks at this 1970-something ABBA concert.
Well, and that song has like a really cool, it has a cool guitar track to it. Like it's got a nice sound. Mm-hmm. So I could hear how that could work. That's cool though. Time travel exists, guys. We write it down. You heard it here first.
Yeah, scientists, just listening to this. This is all you need to know.
Duh. All right, Tim, what's next?
Okay, well, I've got Ozzy Osbourne, Mama, I'm Coming Home.
All I think of when I hear that is I just think of Ozzy Osbourne going, Mama, that's all I thought of when you said it. I like Ozzy, but
The interesting thing about that track, Mama, I'm Coming Home, it's co-written by Lemmy from Motorhead.
Huh. I would have never known that.
And it's credited in the album sleeve as Ian Kilminster, which is his real name.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with Motorhead, Ace of Spades, and all that kind of stuff.
I've heard them.
They had a career for decades and decades and decades. And, they played festivals and they played arenas and, they was a big name, Ace of Spades and Bomber and No Sleep Till Hammersmith album and all that kind of stuff. Lemmy said he made more money co-writing that one Ozzy song than he ever made out of the whole of his entire career in Motorhead.
Well, I could see that because, let's be honest. I'm not a big Motorhead fan, guys. I know who they are. I've heard them. I can tell you Ace of Spades. I can quote that. But, I can definitely name more Ozzy songs than I can Motorhead songs. Mm-hmm. Just going to tell you the truth. And then Ozzy, was in a band and then he was solo and he did all that. So that helps him kind of be. Also, though, he's one of those artists that, all the weird theories that they're still, he bites heads off of bats when he performs live and just weird stuff that people say he did. And I don't know if which ones he actually did and which ones he didn't and which ones are fake. And then he had the TV show and that whole thing. So I think that his name is just more known.
Yeah, and I think the Osbournes TV show certainly gave him a later career renaissance.
Yeah. And so people will probably go ahead and looking him up again and things like that. And so, yeah, I like Ozzy. Did you know he got banned from playing in Utah?
It really?
Yeah, he apparently one of those concert tours where he was biting the heads off the bats or drinking blood or whatever one of those theories were, got to Utah and he's banned from playing there ever again.
Even now?
I think so. I haven't Googled it, but I know when I lived in Utah, I lived in Utah maybe that's probably actually wrong. 8 to 10 years ago, and people were still talking about that he was banned from playing there.
Goodness me.
The Mormons didn't really have a thing for bats. I don't know.
There you go. I've been to Utah and I've been to Salt Lake City and I've seen the Salt Lake and I've been to the Tabernacle and visited all the campus that's there. And, just see what, you're in town, you see what goes on, see what happens and different people do in their life, et cetera, et cetera. But the Ozzy thing was never mentioned. Bearing in mind, I did even go into a Pottery Barn and the Hard Rock Cafe and no one mentioned that.
So what's funny, though? It's first of all, my source on this is my husband and a few other people who told me this. I've never actually looked up that, but that's something that goes around Utah is Ozzy's band from Utah. They also have a really cool, it's out on the Salt Lake. It's like a really bright, almost like, what's the word? Like an Indian temple type thing. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool looking. It kind of looks, I don't even know how to explain it, but they out on the Salt Lake that you go to and they have a lot of concerts and stuff. So that's really cool. Their music seems pretty cool because they do a bunch of free concerts downtown. I saw some major bands for free. So they do support a lot of local musicians. But the funniest story that I've heard across the board from everybody in Utah, every single one of them is either kin to the Used, knew the Used when they grew up there, went to a party once with members of the Used. So I don't know if you listen to it, but you've heard of the band The Used, right, Tim?
Yeah.
So they're from Utah, and they used to they're local kids, and they were there for a long time, and they formed in Utah. And for whatever reason, everybody in Utah is either been with the Used, cousins to the Used, party with somehow when you're talking about music in Utah, that story comes up. Don't know why.
Maybe because they're the only band that's ever come out of Utah.
I don't know. Well, a lot of movies and TV shows are filmed in Utah because apparently it's cheap with their tax rights or something. I don't know, High School Music. If you Google 70% of movies and stuff are filmed in Utah.
Yeah,
or Canada.
And the others are normally filmed in Canada, normally in Vancouver. I think what they do is they make it very tax efficient for these productions to do it there. And so they want the business, and they there's hotels and people are going to eat there, and people are going to stay there, and they're going to want local this and.
Well, and you have Park City in Utah where they do that award ceremony that brings all the celebrities in at some point. It's like a TV award ceremony. I don't know if you ever heard of it. But parks, so they all go there for that. And that's where all the rich people in Utah live. And it's right outside of Salt Lake City. So.
Well, my adventures into Utah and Salt Lake was driving in, finding the Hard Rock, eating at the Hard Rock, going into the Pottery Barn, as I said, observing overpriced stuff in there, going to see the Salt Lake, and then I think we drove somewhere else.
But you didn't see Ozzy.
No, he was actually nowhere to be seen.
See, I told you it's true. Tim didn't see him, didn't happen. I don't know. That's just a theory that Ozzy Osbourne's banned from Utah. I'll look it up when we're over, confirm or deny.
Okay, well, let's bring another song in here. So this is Tom Jones's "Daughter of Darkness."
You know what I think of when I think of Tom Jones? Not this specific song, but I do know this song. But you were the one who told me that he's like really renowned in Europe and England. Is it Tom Jones?
Tom Jones is like a national institution. I mean, like he's one of these people that probably, back in the day, back in the 60s, he was a heartthrob and he had a reputation as a ladies' man, etc., etc. And then I've got albums that I've bought in thrift shops where you open up like a gatefold sleeve and you open him up and he's there in a little pair of Speedos and he's got a gold medallion and a hairy chest, a sex symbol of the day type thing. But like he's gone from that to being, the elder statesman of singing. And I don't know, he's still an absolute icon. And I think he does like the UK's version of X Factor or some Voice or whatever. It's one of those
I thought
things.
it was The Voice, but I could be wrong. But I thought that was really weird, guys. I have heard this song, it says "Daughter of Darkness, Stay Out of My Life. You took my heart." It's all whiny and dramatic because that's kind of Tom Jones. Just telling you the truth. Sorry if you like Tom Jones. There's nothing against him. It's just in America, he's definitely not as much of a household name. Not really. So, because like Tim equated Tom Jones to like Elvis in Europe, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm so confused. I had no idea.
Yeah, he is a name. People know of Tom Jones. I mean, maybe younger people these days in their teens are maybe not aware of. Well, maybe they would be because of Voice
TV
X
show.
Factor. They would know who he was. But I mean, I've seen Tom Jones twice. I saw him once in Bournemouth, which is in the south of England, like an arena type show, and it was absolutely packed, and it was all ages. It was from the oldest folks you would imagine to kids in their teens, and every point in between. And then I saw him in Vegas at the MGM Grand. And it was in one of the like ballroom type things. It probably held 2,000 people, 1,500 people, something like that. And the thing is that my lasting memory of that show is, as I said, it wasn't a big place where he was playing. And he's got the microphone in his mouth and he's singing away. And then as you want to tail off the note, if you're singing a long note, you would move the mic away from your mouth.
Yeah, give the
and
effect.
he did that, and it made absolutely no difference.
Because he's loud. Like he's got a very, even from what I've known, what I've seen of him, and what I've heard him speak, he's kind of projects naturally. Mm-hmm. And so I would imagine that that's probably why he's just kind of a loud guy. And he sings almost like he speaks in a way, like he's telling you a story. Mm-hmm. So I could see why that would be. But yeah, I'm confused by the song Daughter of Darkness, because he's saying for her to stay out of his life, but then it sounds like he's in love with her. So I don't think it's actually his daughter.
No, I would have. I mean, I've never looked at the lyrics, but I'm assuming he's talking about a lady he's having an acquaintance with who's someone else's daughter.
Interesting. Yeah, that's what I just remember him talking about. Daughter of Darkness, stay out of my life. That's what comes to mind. But yeah, there you go, guys. If for our European fans, Tom Jones is not as much of a household name in America,
and that is incredibly sad. He is the Voice. And do you know how he got the name The Voice?
Oh.
I can even tell you that for our bingo fans out there. So,
meat raffle.
He once went to a meat raffle and they said, Tom, you're the voice. No, do you remember, you probably know, obviously none of us were ever there, but back in the day when Frank Sinatra would play in Vegas?
Yeah, I was there with him, totally.
Yeah, I know you typically would hang out with Frank and the Rat
I called him Frankie, but it's fine.
So, when he was hanging out with Frank in Vegas and... often Frank would invite people to come and see his show, like, stars of the day.
Yeah.
And Tom Jones was in the audience seeing Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra on stage said, ladies and gentlemen, he said, we've got a very special guest tonight in the audience in the third row there. There's Mr. Tom Jones. He is the voice.
Huh. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, if Frank Sinatra called you a voice, that's important. But I will say, when Tom sings, he's very big and boisterous and almost bigger than life. And his voice, that's what I meant by not that he's loud in a sense that like he's loud, because I mean, I'm a naturally loud person. He's almost like a presence. So I can see why you would think of him as the voice. Do you know what I mean? Like he commands when he sings and he really enunciates and he has almost like a theatrical sounding voice, truthfully.
Yeah, he has... Because he's a Welshman and a lot of the people from Wales sing. And then he I don't know, he has, like you say, he's not, I put it down to like guitar. He can't sing rhythm. He can only sing lead.
Absolutely. Like, I don't think I would ever hear Tom doing a really good alto harmony with somebody else.
No, exactly.
But he knows what he does and he knows what he does well. So it works for him.
Exactly. And he is the voice. And
if you can do that, Tom Jones, and you listen to the podcast, as we've invited other artists who obviously listen to this podcast, come on and do it for us. We'll let you go live next Wednesday.
Yeah, Tom, if you're free, you're not doing anything. I mean, I don't think you live in England at the moment. We can probably work out the time difference. It'll be fine.
It's funny. I will stay up late. I will go. Me and Tim will leave work early. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work for Tom Jones. I told my boss that's why I had to leave. She'd be like, okay, sure. Right, Joy. That's why.
But the thing is, would she know Tom Jones, though?
Angie probably. Maybe.
Okay.
She does seem to know a lot about music. And she's actually a good singer, boss. Tim can confirm she's actually a pretty good singer.
She's a very good singer. I can confirm that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
people are out there going,
let's move on to another song. This one, Papa Was a Rolling Stone by The Temptations.
Well, Motown's a favorite of mine. We've talked about this before. Everything by The Temptations is good to me. I'm guessing Papa Was a Rolling Stone means that Papa was away a lot. That's what I got from that song.
Yeah, I don't think he was hanging out with Keith Richards and Mick Jagger.
No, I think Papa liked to leave and move on away. He was a rambling man. He can go be with them too. But yeah, I mean, I love everything by The Temptations. Tim, are you a Motown fan?
I am. I mean, I like Motown. I also like the Stax sound, which is similar thing, but is a different variant on that kind of sound. Yeah.
And I mean, how many songs has The Temptations probably had?
Oh,
a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need to look it up, but they were hardly a one-hit wonder.
No, they wouldn't have made it in our last episode. Last episode was about one-hit wonders. Yeah, no, I mean, once again, that's one of those songs when as soon as you said it, I heard Papa I hear it playing in my head. It's iconic. I didn't realize how many songs were about family members.
Oh, I tell you, I mean, we can be here till midnight if you want to go through all the ones I picked out.
I mean, there's.
I didn't even go on the internet. I just went into my iTunes collection and typed the keywords in. And I've got look, I have a list this long.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, now that you said it, I'm sitting there racking my brain going, oh, God, there are a lot of songs. And there's the John Mayer. Oh, you know the song Daughters by John Mayer?
And do you know what? I was looking down on my list. Let's cross off John Mayer and Daughters. Yes, I do. So,
cool fact. I was in my car last night. Charlie sent me a YouTube video. Charlie being my husband, for those out there. He sent me a YouTube video. John Mayer just came out with a new album. And it's supposed to be an 80s throwback album.
Mm-hmm.
And he based the video off this new song. I'll post it when we get off of here. Off of Metallica. What song was it? It's not Take Me Down to the Paradise City. It's
Well,
Sweet Child of Mine.
Well, that's Guns N' Roses.
What did I say?
You said Metallica.
No, that's not what I wanted. I meant Guns N' Roses. Yeah, Axl Rose is what I meant, guys. Sorry, brain. But yeah, he based it off of that the video. Apparently, it's supposed to be a throwback to that Guns N' Roses song. I heard it while I was on the radio this morning. Everybody out there screaming at me right now. I realize that's Guns N' Roses. Everybody, brain didn't think the words through. But yeah, but apparently I only listened to a little bit of it. I'm not a giant John Mayer fan, but it sounded cool. But apparently that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a throwback to that video.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to that. What are your thoughts on John Mayer as a person?
He is a man.
Mm-hmm.
I think he plays the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I can say that's good about him.
The genre of music which John Mayer performs in, I would describe as douche rock.
Well, and he has not only proven it in his music, but in his treatment of some previous female partners.
Mm-hmm.
So all I can say about him is he is a man who plays a guitar. Sometimes he wears a hat. The hat looks nice. That's all I can say. And he's not really, his style of music is not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination. But this was pretty cool. This is actually pretty cool for him. And I thought it was cool that it was a throwback. Apparently the whole album is supposed to have an 80s sound to it, but I didn't get that far into it.
Yeah, I mean, like one of our previous episodes, he's somebody you probably want to separate the art from the artist to a large degree. I mean, he's a good guitar player. I mean, he basically has reformed the Grateful Dead and is playing the part of Jerry Garcia on guitar. I mean, he seems to write great songs. He plays good live. His singing's not too bad. He's written some catchy songs. You know, he's unlike a lot of like quote unquote pop artists of today and a few years ago. He can play and he writes songs, and he seems to be a talented guy. But I don't think you would necessarily want to spend any time with him. And if you're a female, you certainly don't want to be spending any time with him.
No, he said some pretty negative things, and people who have previously dated him have had some pretty negative things to say about him. Now, I understand breakups are gross, but when you have or can be gross and not friendly and yada yada yada, but when you have multiple people saying these things, and that's what's ironic about the song Daughters, you know what I mean? Like that's supposed to be like a thing to your daughter and be good to your daughters and all this stuff. And I'm like, maybe you should listen to your song.
Exactly.
That's my hot take.
But he doesn't strike me as the kind of person who would be listening to the what's written in his own song.
Oh, and I didn't say it, but don't come for me, internet, over the Metallica thing. I said the wrong thing, okay? I meant to say Guns N' Roses. I just didn't say it because I was like, what did I even say? Because I thought I was thinking of Guns N' Roses. Why would I said Paradise City? And then I'm like, no, the other one. And then when you said Joy, and I was like, what did I say? Anyway.
I tell you, we really need this podcast. We need to work on our merch store. And I think we need a whole line of merch that says, don't come from the internet. And then we need a whole line of merch.
I'm just going to get a meat raffle tattoo on my arm one day.
Maybe a meat raffle t-shirt.
I get all...
So maybe a Stevie Nicks mug. I don't know how well we can take it. Our friends at Radio Freak Jam really know how to do merchandise. I think I may have to speak to Ian about some hints and tips about how to get this thing off the ground.
I can just imagine someone walking around with a meat raffle shirt explaining, well, you see, I listened to this podcast. All right. What's next now that we can mark off Daughters?
Well, I've taken a slightly different tack with this one. And this is the theme tune to the Addams Family.
Iconic. I loves the Addams Family. My mom loved the Addams Family. And I even like the episode of Scooby-Doo where the Addams Family comes and visits them. Was Scooby-Doo popular when you were younger, Tim, in Europe, or is it an American thing?
We used to be on. I mean, growing up, we had like a programming block, kids' TV, that was like 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock or something like that. And certainly growing up, there was only ever to begin with, 3 TV channels. And then sometime in the early 80s, there was 4 TV channels. And ITV had the children's programming at that time. and BBC had programming at that time, and they used to play children's focused stuff, but they also used to have cartoons. They used to have the Dungeons and Dragon cartoon, I remember. Dogtanian and the Three Muskehounds. That's some weird European thing that was dubbed into English. And one of the ones was Scooby-Doo as well.
Well, what I like about Scooby-Doo is that they would bring the old 70s Scooby-Doo I'm talking about. Now, there's 37 different generations of Scooby-Doo, right? I liked how they would bring in different people. So, one episode, they had the Addams Family, and then the other episode, Sonny and Cher came in, you know what I mean? And they would bring all these iconic, I always thought that was super cute. My mom's favorite cartoon growing up was Scooby-Doo. So I would always watch the old school ones, like the Hanna-Barbera old ones, whenever I was younger. And I just remember that the Addams Family was on there once. And cool fact, or what I've learned, and there's actually a whole articles about it. Morticia, the mom on the Addams Family, she was one of the first wave feminists. She was the strong, she was known as a strong woman in that family. And there's actually been papers and stuff written about how good of an example of a strong female character she was written before that was always happening. So that's something cool about Morticia.
I didn't know that. I mean, I know more about the Munsters. I'm more familiar with the Munsters than I am the Addams Family. I don't know which one came first. I'd assume NBC had one of them and ABC had the other, or something like that.
I think the Munsters came first, but I could be wrong. My mom liked the Munsters a lot too, which I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've definitely seen more of the Addams Families and probably more of the movies than the actual TV show, because the movies came on later. And I think that Wednesday and all that kind of stuff has become iconic. People like to dress up for Halloween as her. And so I think they've become more popular in the long run than the Munsters. But I don't know which one came first. I would say the Munsters.
Yeah, even though I wrote down the Addams Family theme for this, I think the Munsters does have the cooler theme tune.
I'm on the fence with that one. I like them both. That's hard for me, Tim.
Well, it's got that cool. It's the Munsters has that really cool riff on a Fender 6-string bass, but you might not have picked that out.
Of course, that's why he would say that. I'm sitting here thinking, I like to just do the snappy parts of the Addams Family, and that's what Tim comes out with. I'm like the toddler. Let me just do the snappy parts. Anyway, all right. Addams Family, love them. Mark them off your list is good.
Okay, so here's another one. A classic 80s song, Poison, Your Mama Don't Dance.
And Your Daddy Don't Rock and Roll. That's all I hear. Your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll. I mean, it's a great song.
I think it's a cover as well. It's not their song.
Yeah, it's not the original. Wasn't the original by Phil's yelling at his radio. Oh, Tim, who's the original by?
Is it like Tommy James and the Shandels or something?
Yeah, it's an old 60s tune by I'm gonna have to look it up.
As like you say, Phil right now is shouting as loud as he can at his car radio, while Joy is eagerly Googling this to find it.
Well, apparently Kenny Loggins did a version of it at one point. Oh, let's see here. It was by Loggins and Messina. Is that Kenny Loggins?
Yeah, Loggins and Messina.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Apparently that's the original, and then you hear the Poison version, which is the one you hear more nowadays.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was Loggins and Messina. I have some Loggins and Messina albums.
Yeah, I've heard of them, but yeah, that's what it is. And it was written by Kenny Loggins and Jim Messina.
Wow.
There you go. That was Tim learned something new. But I've actually heard that version quite a bit. That's why it was bugging me that I couldn't remember. And of course, the Queen version. Oh my God, I can't words. Poison's version. God, don't come for me. That's not what I meant to say. Poison's version. I'm so used to talking about Queen. That's what happened. Poison's version is been used in 1,000 movies and stuff because it's got that cold 80s sound.
Exactly.
And apparently, it was number 13 on the UK singles chart.
Oh, wow.
And certified gold in the U.S. And it was on the album Open Up and Say Ah.
Yeah,
Tim probably knew that.
Yeah, I don't have it physically, but I have it in my my digital collection.
God, there are a lot of songs that have family in them.
As I said, I mean, we have not even scratched the surface on this.
God. All right, what's next? Because I can think of like 40 songs.
Well, what's one that you can think of just off the top
Oh,
of your
now that
head?
you said it, my brain's like completely gone. Well, of course, I said Sister Sledge, We Are Family earlier. That was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, and in fact, I have that one right here. I mean, that is a great track. And did you know that was produced by Nile Rodgers?
Yes, actually, I did. I did. And the reason I did know that is because I watched a documentary or VH1 special or something all about Nile Rodgers because, Chic and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know this story? Well, I think I've told this for Tim. When Nile Rodgers was in Chic and they wrote La Freak, that's the song. It was actually written about Studio 51.
Yeah, well, Studio 54.
There's 54. Okay, whatever it was. My brain's not working, guys. But anyway, there's 54 studios, not 51. Anyway, so apparently they were sitting outside and they were letting all these people in, and they were very particular about who went in and out of Studio 54. That was their whole big thing. One time, Cher came in on a horse, literally like a horse. I watched that in the documentary too. And but anyway, Nile Rodgers and the females of his band and all of the members were standing out there, and they couldn't get in. And so they wrote La Freak right after they wouldn't let them in because they weren't cool enough. But the word wasn't freak. I'll let you figure it out.
Yeah, because I heard a podcast with Nile Rodgers recently. And he said that they were waiting at the door, as you said, and they knocked on and they said, "Hey, we know all the cool people. We're guests of so-and-so, so-and-so." And the bouncer opened the door and told them to F off, basically. And then they were so angry that they couldn't get in. They went back to Niall's apartment, and him and Bernard Edwards, the bass player, wrote the song with that phrase over and over and over again. And after they came back to it, they said, "Actually, this is too good a song just to be like an angry attack on a bouncer. This is the stuff right here."
And the other song, you asked me what else comes to mind. It doesn't say it in the title, but for some reason, as we've been talking, I keep thinking about Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. I don't know why. It's about your son. For some reason, that's the other one that keeps coming to mind while we're talking. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what I'm thinking about.
And I can tell you, I'm not a big country music fan, but I do know that song. And unsurprisingly, I know it because it's in a Knight Rider episode.
I just heard it. My mom made me listen to 90s country growing up. That's the only reason I know it. So I keep thinking about that. And then the Mamas and the Papas, the band comes to mind, but they're obviously, I don't know if any of their songs had to do anything, if they said anything about Mamas and Papas in the titles.
Well, every song they're referencing Mamas and Papas because they are Mamas and Papas.
So that's what my brain keeps thinking. All right, what's next on the list, Tim?
Well, I had, on the Mama subject, I have Genesis, Mama.
Well, I mean, did Genesis ever do any wrong?
Well, I mean, I'm not such a big fan of early Genesis, the Peter Gabriel Genesis, but the Phil Collins era Genesis is absolutely fantastic.
Well, everything Phil Collins touches is amazing. And there's actually, and this is going to sound funny, there was like a video going around on the internet and it was talking about, how Phil Collins did the soundtrack for Tarzan and all those movies. Mm-hmm. And they're like, can you imagine the people who hired Phil Collins? They're like, okay, we want you to do the soundtrack, right? And they're playing and they're like, well, we didn't. They're like, it didn't have to go this hard. Why is it's just a Disney movie?
Have you ever seen the Miami Vice episode that Phil Collins is in?
No.
He plays a game show host, and it's like that role is perfect for him. He just has everything that he does in that episode is right. He can do no wrong.
He kind of looks like he could, physically, when you think of Phil Collins, it looks like a game show host. Yeah, I see that. But yeah, I mean, also, how many instruments does the man play? Isn't he playing does he play 7 instruments or something crazy? Yeah,
I mean, of course, drums is his main instrument, and he's literally a virtuoso drummer. But yeah. I mean, I've seen him because he played piano because when at Live Aid, he played in London and he played against all odds on piano. Do you know the whole Live Aid story or not? Where he goes, do you or don't you?
I don't think so. Not about Phil Collins.
Yeah, so Live Aid was 2 concerts. It was one that was in London and one that was in Philadelphia. And the London one ran to lunchtime, and then at lunchtime, one was because of the time difference, they were running in tandem. So Phil Collins played against all odds on piano at London at Wembley. And then he got on a helicopter, which was piloted by Noel Edmonds, which is horrifically funny for our UK listeners, but not somebody that you would know. But maybe I'll explain it to you another time.
Okay.
So we get Noel Edmonds takes him to Heathrow. He gets on Concorde. He flies on Concorde, specially chartered Concorde, from London to Philadelphia. He then gets a police escort to the place where Live Aid is happening, and then he performs at the Live Aid US concert the same day.
I feel like you've told me that before, but maybe I'm wrong. Because didn't they put him on a little golf cart to run him up to the stage or something?
Something like that, yeah.
I think I've either seen something or heard something about that. But I was just, when you said Live Aid, I'm like, well, I'm familiar with that. But I was like, I don't know anything specific to Phil Collins, but that's kind of cool. And also would take a lot of talent and just, when you're rushing around and you get worked up and then you got to go perform. And just be able to go out there and be your best would be, but once again, like we said, has Phil Collins ever done anything wrong? Not really.
I don't think he has. I have his solo box set, and some of his end of career albums are not the best in the world, really. And the
Let
ones
him live, Tim.
the ones that are written by Phil and produced by Phil and mixed by Phil, and they're maybe not his finest work, but certainly his classic output is amazing.
Well, and he's got a gorgeous tone to his voice. At least I think he does. It's a very rich sound that you don't get on a lot of artists. And when he performs live, what I've never seen him live. It sounds like that is his natural tone. He sounds, from what I can tell, he sounds perfect live too. So, and in my mind, he's just, like I said, who doesn't associate Phil Collins with all the drum rolls ever?
Yeah, well, that whole In the Air Tonight drum roll sound, he invented that.
Yeah. That makes sense because, and it was interesting because, and this is, Tim might agree, Tim might not agree, but a lot of times, the drummer is not always thought of as the main person in a band. The guitar gets a lot of solos and the singer is the person and bass is but the drummer is physically in the back most of the time for sound purposes. But also he kind of brought the idea that being a drummer can be cool and made it front stage. The centerpiece of some of his music is actually the drums, which you don't hear in a lot of other artists. No,
that's true. And I think as a lot of people would think of Phil purely as a drummer who wouldn't know him. But in the drum community, he is known as a, first class A1, that's the guy drummer. And the sad thing is, I don't know if have you seen any footage of the last tour that Phil Collins did a year or two ago?
No, but you were talking about it. I can't remember what you said, but I know you said it was rough.
Yeah, Father Time has not been kind to Phil. The guy, he's in his 70s now. And, there's a lot of guys of that age are out there getting it done and they appear to be in good shape. But Phil's back is really bad.
Probably from hitting them drums all the time.
Maybe, but he comes on stage with a cane. He doesn't drum anymore, and he performs the whole gig sitting down. And he looks, like Brian May's 73 and Sammy Hagar. He's 72.
Wasn't he abducted by aliens though? I don't think his counts.
That's correct. But there's a lot of people out there in their 70s getting it done, and they look good and they sound good and they play good. Phil sounds great. He sounds like classic Phil Collins when he sings. But you see this old man hobble on the stage with a walking stick, and it's as I said, his health and time has not been so kind to Phil.
All I'm saying is, a person who has back problems and had tried her attempt at playing the drums many times, not well, but she has tried. Think about his setup though, because he's got the giant tom, a big tom setup, and it's usually raised pretty high. Physically raised pretty high. And he's got all of his cymbals that are fits because he plays with his drum set up from what I can tell. His two toms and then his floor tom and then his snare. And there's he's got multiple toms. I don't even know how many toms he has. I've never paid attention. But if you're physically actually having to hit those as hard as he does and hold your arms up like that, I actually think it probably would mess with your back over time.
I would imagine so. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a No Name Music Cast exclusive. I'm 46. Anyhow, I'm 46, and early on in my playing career, I had a guitar which was very heavy, probably in the £9-10 range. And I'm paying the price for that decades later because my back is a mess. And even now I can't play heavy guitars because it hurts. If I put on like a Gibson Les Paul guitar, which is known to be a heavy guitar, I mean, about 3 minutes into that, it feels like I've got knives in the middle of my back. So, I mean, I can see that, if drumming like that, if you do have a back problem, would not be a good scene.
Yeah, and as somebody with a back problem, I don't need to get into details, but I have an ongoing back problem that I've had basically my whole life. I physically can imagine. And if you think about it, I'm playing concerts doing that, and that's what you do when you're on tour every other day. Mm-hmm. Just saying, that could be accounting for part of his problem. Well, that and the fact that he's in his 70s, but anyway.
Yeah, but there are other drummers out there of a similar age that are still doing okay.
Which drummer is it that's only one armed?
That's from Def Leppard.
He's pretty old now too.
Rick Allen. Yeah, I mean they must be in their 60s. I saw a video with Joe Elliott the other day, and I think he was seen as a heartthrob of the day in the 80s. Joe Elliott. A lot of people enjoyed Joe Elliott. And I saw an interview with him because, all these guys who currently can't tour or who will interview anyone and go on any podcast and do anything, Zoom, what have you, because they're just sitting at home bored and got nothing better to do. And he was on the something podcast, something or other show, or I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he's turned into Jimmy Page. And the reason I say that, he looks like someone's grandma. He's got like a little chubby face and he's got white hair. He looks like someone's grandmother.
I didn't know. I was watching Jimmy Page came on one of those late night shows. Mm-hmm. I don't remember which one. It's not the British guy. It's the other one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Not the redheaded guy. Jimmy Fallon. He was on Jimmy Fallon. And they were talking back and forth. And I was like, who is that? Because he kind of looks like he melted a little bit.
But don't you think he looks like a little sweet grandma?
He does. I was like, who is he talking to? I was like, it looks like a guy who did a lot of drugs that is now in his 70s. Kind of looks like a grandmother, a little squish. And then when they said Jimmy Page, I was like, oh, I didn't predict that. Oh, I wanted to, before we move on, Your Mama Don't Dance, I did read a cool quote about that when I was looking something up. I wanted to tell you this.
What's that?
So we said it was, Jim Messina, we were talking about it was from Loggins and Messina. My stepfather was from Arkansas, was not much of a mover or a groover. My mom loved music. She loved Elvis Presley, Ricky Nelson. She loved R&B. My stepfather was more of an Artist Tubbs, Hank Snow, Johnny Cash kind of guy. That was not a whole lot of connection and understanding. He did not have a whole lot of connection or understanding with me wanting to do music. Other than from my mom, he knew my mom liked this stuff. So the line, your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll, came from me thinking about how my mother wasn't really doing what she loved to do because my stepfather was not into rock and roll.
Oh.
He thought the Beatles were just screaming long-haired idiots. So I grew up having to put up with that. So just for a fun lyric with no intention or social significance whatsoever. So apparently a lot of people think it's about something more serious than it is, other than my own experience in a household like that.
Well, there we go. I did not know any of that. I didn't even know it was Messina and Loggins that wrote it. So
yeah, I didn't either. We were just talking about that because I was trying to remember who wrote it. And I was reading through, I saw that and I was like, oh, I need to say that. And then we got distracted talking about Phil Collins and his back and something. Me and Tim are doctors now, figuring out why poor Phil Collins' back doesn't work.
Yeah, we can actually solve any medical ills right here on the podcast. If you do, just pop something on our Facebook page and we'll come back to you next week and we'll give you a full diagnosis and we'll be able to help you.
All right. Anyway, it's another one on the list, Tim.
Well, here's it. You mentioned rock and roll and what have you. Elvis, That's All Right, Mama.
Well, he's Elvis. There's our first thing. Wasn't he known as a mama's boy?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he was known because his banana and peanut. What was the sandwiches he ate that were so weird?
It was fried banana and peanut butter.
Apparently his mom would make those for him or something. And that was one of the things, like there's like a picture of him literally sitting in his, his childhood home. And he's like grown up the Elvis we know. And he's eating it. And his mom had made it for him. All these years after he's become a famous star, he's still eating his peanut butter sandwich. So I think he was known as a little kind of a bit of like he's a big fan of his mama.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which would make sense why you read the song.
Yeah, and if you ever go to the Hard Rock Cafe in Memphis, they have a special dish there. They have a peanut butter and banana pudding thing that you can get. That's exclusive to Memphis. It's called the Elvis or something like that.
That's where he went, Tim. Like, remember in the previous episode when they thought they saw Elvis? Mm-hmm. He just went to Cancun and he's just enjoying his peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
There you go.
That's what he's doing. He wanted to do it in peace.
And who can blame him?
By the same accord, though, that is a really good song. Like, truthfully, I like that song a lot. But I mean, once again, Elvis is a person that the only thing that I don't care for. Oh, speaking of Elvis, apparently Elvis included Your Mama Don't Dance in a medley of rock and roll songs on his 1974 album, Elvis Recorded Live on Stage in Memphis.
Wow.
I still have the grid up, and I looked over it. That was the first thing I saw. So that's the second song he did about Mom.
Elvis, in fact, it's a shame that we lost Elvis, because Elvis would be perfect for this episode, for talking about a family affair. We could have put him on Zoom. It would have been great.
Because he would have obviously listened to the podcast. Duh.
Yes. I mean, of course he does.
Well, what is it now? Meatloaf, Cher, Jerry Hall. No, Elvis. We've got a really extensive line of listeners, guys. You got to be shocked.
Oh, I tell you, we look at the stats every week, and it's...
Yeah, Jerry just sent in a request for a Don't Come For Me internet t-shirt last week. Anyway.
Well, I tell you what, let's round out this family selection of songs. And I'm going to close out with James Brown. Papa's got a brand new bag. Papa's got a brand new bag.
Did it? That's what I think of when I hear that. It's like James Brown doing that. Well, James Brown we've talked about it a little bit. You know, he's one of the original. I'm not going to say because remember Phil came for me, but known as one of the original pioneers of rock and roll. And he's known as a great musician across the board, as far as I'm aware. And that song's got that cool little opening, the one that you hear, you always hear where you come in. It's got a cool sound. Like, that's what I thought made him different. Is he kind of, I feel like he has his own distinct sound you don't hear anywhere else, including that song. Because, I mean, Papa's got a brand new bag. And then you hear the noise kind of before he starts singing. And that's what instantly comes to mind for me.
Going back to what we were saying about Phil Collins, he's in a Miami Vice episode as well. And you would think it would be cool because it's James Brown on Miami Vice. It is the worst episode.
They did James Brown wrong.
I mean, they could have had James Brown do so many other cool things. But it's terrible. It's like, even I have a high tolerance for bad 80s TV, an incredibly high tolerance. But the James Brown episode of Miami Vice, I'm like, goodness me.
Oh, well, you know, he's in Blues Brothers, so that's what I think of when I think of James Brown.
That's true.
He's Blues Brothers, and he's the choir, or the preacher with the choir that says that it brought the brothers to Jesus, and that's why they need to go out and do what they need to do or whatever. But it's a good song. I mean, once again, he's another artist. It's crazy to me, though, as we sum up this episode, how many good artists had songs about family members. I've never paid attention.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, we won't discuss these, but I mean, if I'm just looking through the list, you've got Cat Stevens, father and son, Dusty Springfield, son of a preacher man, Jimmy Buffett.
That was one that came to mind at one point.
Yeah, Jimmy Buffett, son of a sailor, Aerosmith, Mama Kin. I mean, and I've got 20 more.
Huh. Well, I guess it makes sense. People's families tend to influence whatever they do. Why wouldn't they influence music? Just never really thought about it till now.
And there we go. And on those words of wisdom from Joy, we will leave the podcast for this week, and we will say goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.
I get to go see if there's still a bat.